Okay, let's talk about one of the biggest financial decisions you're ever going to make. When should you claim Social Security? For years, we've all been told to use this one simple calculation to figure it out. But what if that calculation, the one every single standard tool uses, has a massive hidden flaw? Let's dive in and break down the hidden math that could completely change your retirement strategy.
Wow, that's a pretty bold statement, right? But it gets right to the heart of a misunderstanding that could honestly cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because when you factor in the real math, waiting until age 70, well, it starts to look like a gamble with a staggering 95% chance of failure. Let's see exactly why.
This is the key question, isn't it? And the answer, you'll see, isn't some super complex financial formula. No, it's a simple, fundamental error in logic that has enormous consequences for millions and millions of retirees.
So, to see where the math goes wrong, we first have to really understand the math everyone uses. The conventional wisdom. Okay, here's a classic example for a 65-year-old man. If he claims his benefits right now, he gets about $2,400 a month. But if he waits until he's 70, that benefit grows to over $3,400 a month. The standard calculator tells him his break-even point is age 81. The logic seems simple enough. If you live past 81, you win by waiting. But that simple logic is missing a critical piece of the puzzle.
And here it is. This is the flaw, the lie. This entire calculation, the whole thing, assumes that the money sitting in your investment portfolio, the money you're forced to use because you're waiting on Social Security, earns absolutely nothing. Zero, zilch, nada. And you and I both know that's just not how money works.
So let's add in the missing math, shall we? Because waiting to claim isn't free. There's a very, very real cost to waiting. It's called opportunity cost. And believe me, it is a big one.
So here's what this actually means in the real world. Let's say you need $100,000 a year to live on. If you claim Social Security at 65, you only need to pull about $71,000 from your investments to make up the difference. But if you wait, well, now you have to pull the entire $100,000 from your portfolio for 5 straight years. So here's the crucial point. Over those 5 bridge years, from age 65 to 70, that's an extra $140,000 that has to come out of your portfolio. That's $140,000 that is no longer invested, no longer growing, no longer compounding for your future. It's just gone.
And this brings us to one of the most fundamental concepts in all of finance, the time value of money. It's simple. A dollar you have today is worth way more than a dollar you get in the future, precisely because you can put it to work. And once we factor this in, the entire break-even equation just gets turned on its head.
So what happens when we apply this real-world math? Well, that old break-even age gets pushed out, and I mean a lot.
Let's start on the conservative side. Let's say that $140,000 you left invested was only growing at a modest 4% a year. Your new break-even age is no longer 81. No way. It jumps all the way to 87.
Okay, what about a still pretty conservative 5% return? Now your break-even age pushes out even further, all the way to 90 years old. You see what's happening? The opportunity cost of not having your money invested is just huge.
And now, at a perfectly reasonable 6% return, pretty typical for a balanced portfolio, your real break-even age becomes 96. Think about that for a second. That is a full 15 years later than what all those standard calculators have been telling you. So, this leads to the next logical question, right? Okay, fine. The real break-even is somewhere in my 90s. But what are the actual odds I'll even live that long to see the so-called win?
Well, according to the Social Security Administration's own data, the chances are not great. For that same 65-year-old man, the probability of living to age 96 is less than 5%. That means there's a greater than 95% chance he will never reach the point where delaying his benefits actually pays off.
Let's just reframe this whole decision. Thinking about it this way, delaying your claim isn't some safe, conservative choice. It's a high-risk gamble on your own longevity with a 95% chance of not paying out. So let me ask you, would you make that bet? Okay, so if the old math is broken, what are we supposed to do instead? Well, let's build a smarter framework, something you can actually use to make this decision for yourself.
First things first, let's step away from the spreadsheet for a minute. A dollar has a totally different value depending on when you spend it. At age 65, that dollar can buy incredible experiences, climbing castle steps in Europe, playing with your grandkids without getting tired. At 90, it's much more likely to be spent on needs, like medication and care. Waiting until 70 is a strategy that optimizes for your oldest years, not necessarily your best, most active years.
So here is an actionable 3-step reality check. First, you need to pick your expected investment return, your discount rate. Maybe you're conservative and choose 4%, or maybe you're more aggressive and go with 6%. Second, look at the actuarial tables and be really honest with yourself about your health and your family history. And third, you have to stress test your portfolio. Can it really handle 5 full years of withdrawals, even if the market decides to take a nosedive?
You know, at the end of the day, this decision isn't just about math. It's about your life. The standard advice often focuses on just maximizing a number on a spreadsheet. But the real question, the one you need to ask yourself, is this: what do you truly want to optimize for?